what's stopping you from being fluent? I mean, what's actually holding you back from speaking and writing as fluently as you want to? It may not seem like it, but there are definitely ways that you can overcome this. And today I'm going to share some useful tips to help you do just that. 5 of our real-life supporters who are English learners like you have shared video testimonials of some of the biggest challenges they face on their journey to fluency. So stick around because it's very likely that you face the same struggles learning English. By the way, if you haven't already done so, join our global community of over 400,000 learners by hitting that subscribe button and bell down below so you never miss out on our weekly lessons.
Hi everyone, I'm Esra from Turkey. I have been learning English for over than 10 years. Learning English can sometimes feel overwhelming. There is so much to learn, and sometimes I feel it is almost impossible to reach a point of being completely fluent. It is difficult to remember all the words or their other meanings. Even if we learn, if we do not study, if we do not repeat or speak, it is easy to forget. So we should spend lots of time. It is exhausting.
Okay, so the lesson here is that everything sucks sometimes. In other words, nothing is perfect all the time. For many English learners, English fluency can seem like this enormous mountain in front of you, and just looking at it fills you with fear. You're like, how am I ever going to conquer this mountain? How am I ever going to reach the top? This seems impossible. And you might climb a little bit and things are okay, and then things start to get scary and you think, okay, I should turn back. This is probably not for me. I'm not fit enough. I'm not a mountain climber. I don't know how to do this. I don't have the best equipment. This is what it can feel like at times as an English learner. We feel like we want to give up because how am I ever going to achieve this? How am I ever going to learn all the grammar rules? Maybe I'm just not a good speaker. One of the mistakes I notice people make, including myself, is that we think that once we get that job, or we pass that English exam, or we sign up for that course, everything's going to be perfect. We're going to be confident. Everything will flow and fall into place. But this is not the case. The reality is that most of the time, once you achieve one goal, there are so many more steps to get to where you're going. So the idea here is not to think of learning English as the scary mountain of challenges that you'll never be able to overcome, and that you should just deal with the challenges and accept that it's always going to suck. No, instead what helps is to understand that these challenges are temporary and that they're just roadblocks on your path to success. Many successful people, including language learners, say that this is exactly what helps them through those difficult moments on their way to achieving their goals. The mindset that they have is that they accept the difficult moments as part of the process.
Hello, my name is Mary and I've been learning English with the RealLife English Circle for 3 years. One of my biggest fears of speaking English is the thought that I won't be able to support a real conversation. What happens if I don't remember the word? Or maybe I misunderstand something? Or maybe I mispronounce something and I can be rude or offend somebody. For these reasons, I prefer most of the time stay in my comfort zone and don't speak.
So the lesson here is how to eliminate fear. Well, the truth is, you can't, and you shouldn't want to. If we didn't have any fear, we'd all most likely die. Fear protects us, but it shouldn't control us. So picture going shark cage diving. You're in the middle of the ocean, and the only thing between you and the razor-sharp teeth of a shark is a cage around you. So this cage protects you from being the shark's lunch. So while the cage is a positive thing in situations like shark cage diving, in social situations like when you're speaking English or trying to engage with other people, the cage can be a negative thing. That cage is holding you back from meeting new friends, from networking with people in your industry, from living a free and happy life. The key to getting out is courage, and you can use it in the middle of the ocean or at the party. The key is always in your possession, so choose to be courageous. It takes courage to stand up against the criticism and self-doubt that often stands in our way of fluency and even success in general. And how you get to that place of comfortably using that key whenever you want is by doing little acts of courage every day. Baby steps. A great example of an activity that requires this kind of courage is practicing your English with a speaking partner, even though you're feeling shy or doubting your English ability. Now, if your desire to speak English and connect with others is greater than your fear, then you're absolutely going to love our RealLife English app. At RealLife, we've come up with a solution that will allow you to practice your English anytime, anywhere at the press of a button for free. You'll also have access to real-life conversations with our podcast, where we talk about how to best learn English, movies, culture, and so much more. We even recently published an inspiring podcast episode where 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗟𝗶 talk about how they face similar challenges and fears on their language learning journeys. The best part is that you can practice along with new transcripts and flashcards every single week. So what are you waiting for? Download it right now for free by clicking up here or down in the description below, or simply search for RealLife in your favorite app store.
Hello, this is Steffi. I am an intermediate level student and I've been learning English for different years so far. And I'm able to write books, to listen podcasts. However, when it's time for me to speak or to write, I can't recall all the new words I learned, and I tend to use ever the same. So I have this feeling that my vocabulary is very poor, but it isn't.
Okay, so here the lesson is that you can only achieve as far as you believe. Imagine getting ready to build your dream home. What is the first thing you'll need? Well, you would probably start with a blueprint or plan of what you imagine your dream home would look like. So if you're designing your home and you only sketch or draw a small, simple home with one bedroom, a roof, a door, some windows, then when it comes time to build, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're limited to that because that's all you believed was possible. But if you open yourself up to designing something incredible and maybe you hire someone to help you design this home, when it comes time to build, you're going to have something spectacular. Now, this design, this blueprint, this plan obviously represents your life. More specifically, your belief in yourself and what's possible in your life. There's an awesome quote by Elizabeth Gilbert from the book Big Magic, where she says, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. This means that you decide how much or how little you are capable of. For example, if someone compliments you and they say, wow, your English is really good, and your response is, oh no, I don't know, my grammar is really bad, or oh no, my English sucks. So the more you argue those limitations, the more you're conditioning that disbelief in your subconscious mind, and you're basically shrinking your self-image, your potential, and your ability to visualize yourself as a fluent English speaker. So a really simple fix for this is to shift the dialogue. So instead of saying, oh, I suck, say to that person, thank you, I appreciate that. Then make a mental note. Tell yourself that I'm going to continue getting better. I'm going to continue making that person proud. I'm going to continue making myself proud because clearly I'm doing something right.
I've been learning English for a while and I still have that uncanny feelings when I have to speak in English, especially when it's an important situation. I fear that people will judge me if I make mistakes. that I'm not competent for that position or that I'm not skilled.
So the lesson here is we all want to be loved and validated, but don't let that control you. Imagine you speak English in public and someone comes up to you and says, "Your English sucks. Never speak English ever again." Even though this is just one person's opinion, it can really hurt when someone says something negative about us, especially about our abilities if we've been practicing really hard. If you feel this kind of fear that comes with this need for validation from others, it helps to remember that your worth, your ability, your specialness does not depend on other people. It's almost as if they're waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you've got it." But this essentially puts your purpose and your gifts in the hands of someone else. And waiting for someone to come along and say, "You're enough," is a waste of time. You don't need it. You define you.
Hi, I've been learning and speaking English since my childhood. I think I'm pretty okay to speak English to do all my day-to-day activities, but what's holding me back from expressing myself fully in English is perfectionism. I want everything to be perfect. The words and phrases I use, the pronunciation of words, the speech rhythm, etc. And because of all this, I sometimes just don't speak at all.
So this fifth lesson is, trying to be perfect is a waste of time. Difficult moments are natural and we all experience them. Sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down. We experience the highs, we experience the lows, the ebbs and flows of life. You've probably heard that perfectionism is bad, but what is it? So think of perfectionism as a line. It's going from one end to the other. And on both ends of this line are the extremes, right? And both of them can be equally bad for you. So if you're, too far on lacking any kind of desire to get things right, that's bad. If you're trying to be too perfect, this is bad as well. So why does it get difficult once we reach a particular point of trying to be perfect? The reason for this is because you're exhausting yourself. You're using more energy than what you're actually getting out of the situation. So even though you're staying up late, studying for hours, you're not really remembering any of the knowledge. So once you reach a certain point, you've hit a point that you can it's as much as you can physically take. And if you keep going, basically what you're doing is, it's like you're exhausting yourself and it's getting harder and harder to actually move forward along this line. So as a recovering perfectionist, this really resonates with me. So the tip here is, do not measure your self-worth by your successes or your failures, but instead tie them to how dedicated you are to achieving your goals. When you can actually say that you care more about making English a natural part of your daily life and your identity than you do about what other people think, that is when perfectionism starts to fade away and that line disappears. So today we covered 5 tips that you can use to overcome certain fears that are holding you back from fluency in English. Here's a quick recap. Everything sucks sometimes. How to eliminate fear. You can only achieve as far as you believe. We all want to be loved and validated, but don't let it control you. Trying to be perfect is a waste of time. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you're feeling fearless and ready to take on any challenge that stands in your way of fluency. If you would like to continue learning with us, then be sure to check out this lesson next. It always feels like there's more we have to give, more time we have to spend, and it always feels like it's such a chore. And something that I've personally found to be true when it comes to this aspect of connecting or finding speaking partners or even making friends in the language that you're learning is that social media can be one of the best tools to achieve this. So today I'm going to show you how you can use these 5 social apps to not only advance your English, but also advance your social life.